Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to another We Are Movie Club Saturday Hangout. I am Kamurai. I'm a computer programmer by day, YouTuber by night, and a game designer whenever the fuck I can find time to do it. Who else we got today?
He's not kidding. I'm Charlie. I am a student by day and tired pretty much all of the time at the moment. So if I fall asleep during this, please don't hate me.
It is late there. Yeah, go ahead, Neil.
Hi, I'm Neil. I am a crappy YouTuber that does gaming and reviews and vlogging. So you can check me out on my channel, which isn't in this bar yet because I'm still fiddling about with it.
Don't worry, we'll give you a proper chance to plug yourself towards the end, and we'll be putting your link in the description. Now, Neil's kind of a fun exception because he typically does anime stuff, and back when we were both doing Source Fade Nerd Anime Club, we were both kind of heavily into that. And then we had a small venture into trying to get one of our sister projects off the ground that never really went anywhere. WeAreMovieClub, which would be lovely if that actually went somewhere, but that needs something innovative to get it off.
What site did you use for We Are Anime Club? Because apart from Netflix, which is like 3 for UK users, I don't know where else you can actually watch anime.
Okay, Neil, I'm going to give you that one.
Well, where can you watch it?
Yeah.
Usually if you just go online and you just type in watch anime online, it'll give you something.
Fair enough.
There's a, what is it? I think the ones I normally use are Anime Dreaming or Anime Tip, which is normally subtitled stuff, but if you prefer like dubbed stuff, I think there's one called Anime Crave, which just specializes in like dubbed animes.
Yeah, that one's actually pretty good. I think that's where you send us for Cars.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say that rang a bell.
But that leads me into what I was going to say. Like, we actually brought Neil on to do a week for Chorus a little bit ago, and I think he's actually going to get the week after mine. So I can't remember what you picked.
That's what that was.
We put it on the calendar, though, right?
Yes,
Oh,
we went on the calendar and I didn't know what it was.
Was it Space Pirate Captain Harlock? Which,
yes.
The funny thing is, it's more of like a CGI movie, like if you've seen Final Fantasy, Advent Children.
Okay.
Or something like that. But it's based off an actual anime and like a manga. But the film that they've done is all just CGI, and it honestly looks fantastic.
Is it like the animation in Chorus where they did the CG?
It's like 10 times better than that.
Oh, good.
It is. I don't know the best way to describe it. Like,
it's not Spirit Within good, is it?
Pardon?
It's not Spirit Within good, is it?
It's pretty close, yeah.
Oh, I loved that.
The only problem was when they. I mean, even though I'm saying this, I think I pretty much covered it in my review anyway. But when they first brought it out, they did the translation like 1-to-1. Which obviously for Japanese doesn't work. So the actual subtitles that they'd hard-coded to the film didn't make any sense. And even when they introduced the character, Captain Harlock, they called him Hallock. And it's like, how can you get your own character's name wrong?
Well, they don't have R's.
Well, they must have, because they called him Harlock in the first place.
But it would still be Harak. It wouldn't be... Isn't that how they say it? Or do they actually say Harlock?
Well, I don't think they say it quite so hard, but I'm pretty sure it's Harlock.
Okay.
Just with like an oriental flair to it.
Very interesting, huh?
But yeah, so I already made that, because originally I was going to replace that with Karis, and then it was a bit short notice, so I was like, okay, we'll just keep Karis, and then I'll do that one later on.
Yeah, we're trying to plan out that schedule far in advance. That way everybody's on the same page when it comes around. And even though there's only a couple of us active right now... Hold on, well, I'll say hi, let me finish my sentence. Just royalty, I understand. But let me finish my sentence. So we're trying, even though there's only a couple of us, we're trying to keep that schedule up there so everybody can stay on the same page when it comes up. But welcome to the cast here, Mark W. Gray.
Hello, mates. How are you?
You all right?
Doing well, sir. I do want to show you something.
Hey! The second one in captivity. Fantastic.
I bought a Professor Puppet shirt too. Team Hans, I think.
Oh, fantastic. That may be the only one of those ever made. You know, lots of
Really?
Yeah.
I'm definitely bringing these to VidCon, so
Oh, fantastic.
we'll wear them around. They did kind of smell when they got in. I got to mention that.
Yeah, I mentioned that in mine. They smell kind of like ink when they come out.
Yeah, it's a chemical smell, and you let them air out for an afternoon, and they're fine. But
Oh, yeah. But, well, thank you for buying it. You got brown there or black? What color did you get?
this is the brown one for the Elephant versus Octopus, and then Team Hans is blue.
Excellent. My plan is coming together.
Neil, Mark, I don't know if you guys even know about each other.
I don't think so. No, sorry.
Neil and I met back when we were doing a Source Anime Club together. He's an anime guy, Mark. And then Mark's been on Movie Club before, which I know, Neil, you haven't really had your hand in a whole lot.
Right. The funny thing is, I actually watch a lot of films, but I don't know, because most of the film, if they go, oh, we're going to be reviewing this film, and I've already seen it, but I've seen it a long time ago, I really can't be bothered to rewatch it. And my memory is like a sieve, so I just can't remember enough about it to do a good review. Which, if you've watched any of my reviews, are pretty piss poor anyway. So.
Well, see, that goes back. If we can get it out far enough for you, you should be able to get into it. Plus, I'm bringing back Red versus Blue, which I know you should be able to get into.
Is that's the Halo thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen that.
Oh, you're in for a treat. You'll like it.
That's been around for ages, right? That's like one of the original web shows.
Yeah, it's on season 12 now.
Jesus.
Yeah, longest running web series. They got a couple of awards for it.
I think I saw half of one once.
Then you didn't watch any of it. That's kind of what it is, honestly. Because the seasons are built so that you can watch any one season independently. Yeah. But it's much better if you've seen everything before it. But if you watch like one episode in the middle of a season, you're missing the context of what's going on for the scenario.
Well, I didn't watch Breaking Bad either, so there are blind spots in all of our.
Yeah, I haven't watched that either.
Well, that's unforgivable. Breaking Bad is fantastic. You need to. We'll just cut the show short, and you can go watch it right now.
See, I would say the same thing about Switched at Birth, but I'm probably a girl for that. I don't know.
That's your baby at the moment.
These things on my new Roku.
Oh, what is that, Mark?
This is a Roku. It's kind of like an Apple TV.
Ah, okay.
It isn't. It's kind of cooler. And I got this. If you watched the video I put up yesterday, I mentioned it. I watched this movie that Joss Whedon wrote called In Your Eyes. It was released only on Vimeo. And it just came out like a week or two ago. And it costs $5 to stream it on Vimeo. Really nice, like kind of slightly paranormal romantic comedy. And I watched it, paid the $5, and then I got an email the next day from the production company saying, hey, this is, thanks for watching our movie, which can we send you a present? What's your address? And I thought it'd be a t-shirt or a sticker or something. But they sent me this Roku. It's totally cool.
Oh,
it's
that's
like,
pretty awesome.
Nice. For streaming media. And it's got like a remote even. And the remote's like a Wii controller, and there's like games on it you can play. So it's pretty badass for just watching a movie, and I paid $5 for it.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, that's your money well made there.
I know, right? Early adopters.
And I've been saying that's actually a good way to go for movie distribution, is to like internet only release. You pay whatever for the rights, like Amazon Instant, which I still haven't used. I'm very upset by that, because we're to a point where like television's kind of obsolete, and they're just squeezing blood from stone on it right now.
Well, I tell you though, I was in this nursing home. I just got home like 3 days ago. I was in this nursing home for 6 weeks.
Congratulations and welcome home, by the way.
Thank you
You do
very
look
much.
a lot happier in your own home, I must admit.
What I missed the most was skipping commercials. Because the only TV I would watch in the home was like The Daily Show every night, or Colbert and Cosmos, and the same 5 fucking commercials every break. I just wanted to kill myself. Just now when I see those, I go, ha ha, skip, fuck you, ha 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 ha. It's so great to skip the ads. Oh my god, that's like a modern miracle that you forget how valuable that is.
Oh man, that's fantastic. That's hilarious too. But are you able to walk? Did you find that boot?
Yeah, I got the boot like 4 weeks ago. Well, no, hang on.
The new one, the one that doesn't touch your ankle.
Basically, what I've done is I bought. I don't know if you can see this behind me. I bought a length of 3-inch pipe insulator. It's like foam, you see. This is my plan.
You're gonna make one?
And I cut it out like that, you see. And I slide that inside my boot, and it leaves this gap here where where my little ankle wound is, And this isn't the one. This was like prototype 3, The final one is over there. But it's, I mean, the orders from the doctor are don't wear the boot. Don't put a thing in it. Just don't do it. Use crutches. But that was Wednesday, and it's Saturday, and I'm still waiting for my crutches to be delivered. It's ridiculous.
What was behind you?
Well, that's an old crutch that I have.
Oh, okay.
Which is a regular crutch. But the thing is, because this arm, because you guys want all the details about my convalescence, this arm is non-weight bearing, so I can't do proper crutches with it. But I can get a thing called a platform crutch, which is where you hold your arm kind of in this position, and there's a little shelf under here, and you grip it like that. And and that's awesome. And that's what they were supposed to bring me. And I waited around yesterday. The guy finally showed up, and he had a pair of these normal crutches. And he was supposed to bring me a shower chair, and instead he brought me a bedside commode, which is like a shit pot. Which is the last. I was furious. I've been just furiously yelling at this company in call after call. And I've been waiting since 8 o'clock this morning. It's 1. And it's just, they say, well, they're on the way. They show that they're on the way. So if I hop up for a moment, then that means someone's at my door with a crutch for me.
Yeah, we'll understand. Especially if you're hopping up. Neil, I don't know if you're obviously not in on the pulse. Mark got in a motorcycle accident, what, 8 weeks ago?
7 weeks ago. 7 weeks and 2 days.
Sorry to hear that.
Yeah, so that's why we're so concerned about why he can walk in his boots.
Yeah.
It's not just we like Mark's fashion.
There is something strangely appropriate about Mark making his own boot, because today I actually watched Iron Man for the first time, so there seems something strangely convenient about the two things there.
Absolutely.
Well, that's excellent. You've started your trip on the Marvel Universe?
I have lost my Marvel virginity, and I must say I enjoyed it.
Excellent.
Your marvelous virginity?
My virginity.
Well,
they had Jon Favreau, the director of those movies, on the Nerdist podcast a couple of weeks ago. And if you're interested in that, Jon Favreau, he was in Swingers, and he directed, Jumanji, Iron Man, Cowboys and Aliens. I think Iron Man 2 also. Anyway, he's like a really kind of talented dude. And Chef, which is just coming out right now. And it was like an hour-and-a-half conversation with him. It was just fascinating, all about filmmaking and everything on the Nerdist podcast.
Don't give me another one to listen to. I have millions already.
Well, Charlie, what did you think? What did you think of your first major Marvel movie? Because like Blade and stuff all came before that, but
I must admit, I looked at the fact that it was a 2-hour film, and that I was a bit cautious of that, but it didn't seem to matter at all. That film could have carried on and on and on, and there would have been no problem. It was paced perfectly, and the effects were just amazing. I'm not going to lie, the only other thing I'd seen Robert Downey Jr. do was the Sherlock films, and this was so different, and he is an absolute arse in this film, but he is some kind of, you love him because he is just very full of himself, and it just suits him so well as well.
That's Tony Stark for you.
Yeah.
Well, that's the whole point of the hero's journey. He has to be a narcissistic asshole to then grow out of that and become this hero. Otherwise, if he was a hero from the beginning, it wouldn't be a story.
But he never grows out of it.
That's why he becomes heroic. He kind of learns about kind of the toughness of he learns a little something about the humility of the victims of all of his weapons, you know.
No, yeah, I totally get you. He does become a better person, but Tony Stark is notably a womanizing, alcoholic asshole throughout the entire Marvel universe.
Yeah. Awesome.
It's why I've never got behind him as a character. Whereas like Steve Rogers, Captain America, even though he's got very limited powers and he's kind of a Boy Scout, like there's enough character in him for me to actually get in there and be like, yeah, Cap's the leader.
But then again, that's the difference between movies and TV, or movies and comic books. In TV or comic books, you're serialized, and you've got to keep the same characters kind of in the same mode all the time. Like Gilligan never changes, the Skipper never changes, because you've got to come back next week for exactly the same story again. But in a movie, you've got to build and end. You know, that's why they crash the Enterprise in like half of the Star Trek movies. You know, you've got to actually take the journey and kind of do something worth doing and come to some kind of a conclusion. And if Tony Stark didn't grow as a character in the movies, then it would be very unsatisfying.
No, I think they definitely did. I think giving him the troubles that he had by Iron Man 3 is definitely giving him that dip we need to let him grow again.
Iron Man 3, yeah. And he's completely replaced himself by these autonomous flying robots that don't even need him.
Yeah, and that's what I don't agree with, because it's actually a very clever setup for Age of Ultron, which I'm very upset about, because they announced that they're not going to have Hank Pym create Ultron. They're going to have Tony Stark do it. Like, essentially, Jarvis is going to lose his mind and become Ultron.
Okay, I don't know anything about Ultron, so you got me there.
Well, he's this AI guy who wants to kill the Avengers,
Okay.
and it's just some smart program Hank Pym made that went out of control because it taught itself how to learn, and then that like the best thing for the world is to get rid of the humans, and the Avengers are the biggest thing standing in its way. Okay. Essentially.
It's very, very timely. Everyone's worried about that now. Like AI is suddenly becoming like kind of, tangible. Like it seems kind of like it's plausible now suddenly, which it wasn't really in the 50s,
Yeah. If you just look now, this is a weird venture into video games. So Neil, jump in if you've got something, because I know you've got your finger on the pulse. But BioShock Infinite, the AI for Elizabeth, I think it actually won an award because we've never seen AI like that. It literally controls itself in the environment. It interacts with all these crazy things, and so it's been really noted like this may be a jumping off point for AI in video games, and I really think that's where we're going to get personality AI for virtual companions, is things like that.
Sure. Well, I mean, she's operating in a pretty limited world that they've written themselves, so there's nothing that she has to react to that they didn't. Well, I guess there's people playing that she has to react to as well, which is unpredictable.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that makes her so amazing is that you can walk wherever you want, and she'll follow you and have kind of genuine reactions to things. She'll stop suddenly and look off on the horizon and be like, just imagine if we could just fly away over that ocean. It's like, I'm just trying to get over to that that sandcastle, see what the kid's doing. What are you talking about?
See, that sounds like an Act 1 call to action, somewhere over the rainbow. What's the character want? You got to plant that early on.
Yeah, it's just
I gotta get a console. I'm thinking Xbox is the way to go. What do you guys think?
PC Master Race.
Huh? PC
Master Race. But you got a Mac.
Yeah.
So your choices are limited. I didn't want to talk to you at some point too, because I don't know if I actually thought about it. I don't know if you can get on my server with a Mac, because I've got a PC server.
I think Minecraft is pretty agnostic. I would think. But I don't know.
I know you can't get on a PC server with a Xbox account. Is that right, guys? You guys know?
I don't even play Minecraft.
No,
so I wouldn't know.
I would assume not, because they are essentially completely different systems, whereas PC and Mac are comparatively very similar.
I mean, the Mac game of Minecraft really looks like a PC game. Like there's all this code that pops up at the beginning and everything. It just seems
I kind of feel you're probably more likely to be able to connect a PC to a Mac on a Minecraft server than you are an Xbox and a PC.
it just depends if the data packets are coded correctly. Because like when Mark's iPad, or not iPad, MacBook, thank you, encodes the data, it's got Mac signatures on it. So when it gets to my server, the server's going to go, I don't know what to do with this, unless it has procedures built into it to say.
Well, I got on somebody's server once, and there was no issue. It just like there was no like, are you this or that? There was none of that. I just like just worked. So. Yeah.
So hopefully it is cross compatible. I'd be really willing to try that if you've got time later. But
I'm home now because my big computer upstairs is much faster and awesome. I have a whole new world that I've built in this computer, which I call Valley of the Palm. And it had giant mushrooms in it. It was crazy. And I spent a long time fucking around, not being able to find any coal or anything. But then suddenly I moved to another valley, and I found everything. I got way in there, and I had found gold and diamonds, but then I got killed. Whenever I find a diamond or something really awesome, I get killed and can't find my way back down the hole. Invariably.
Okay, bring it back to stuff. Charlie, did you watch or anything else this week besides Iron Man?
I can't remember if I watched Avatar last week or this week. I think it might have been last Sunday, so that technically counts.
Not Avatar: The Last Airbender, Avatar like
Avatar,
on Pandora?
The 3-hour clusterfuck of CGI, yeah.
Okay, so you didn't like it?
It was too long. I couldn't. There wasn't enough of a story to keep me interested for nearly 3 hours.
What did you watch it on? I'm curious.
Sorry?
What did you watch it on?
Just my computer.
Oh, good point.
It was this big.
I'm confused.
Well,
if you watch it on your computer, it's like 12 inches across, right? You watch it in a cinema, and it's like 100 feet across.
Oh, right, yes, sorry, now I understand. Yeah.
Hmm?
Yeah, I understand now, yeah, and I suppose if I'd watched it in 3D as well, that probably would have changed things. The experience I had wasn't. I don't know. I understand what they were doing with Avatar. I definitely appreciate it for what it is, but I just didn't love it.
I mean, I saw it in the theater, not in 3D. I don't even know if they had 3D then, but like I wasn't impressed. I was like, yeah, it's pretty. Now what are you gonna do with it? Because it felt like a fern gully, like.
Ah, dude. I saw it in the theater, I saw it in 3D, and I saw it in IMAX 3D.
Oh, okay.
I love that movie. I think that there's a lot of James Cameron haters out there who's like, oh, he's a jerk, it's expensive, blah. I don't know. I think it's actually one of the most profound movies that's out there, especially really, really big movies. Because, I mean, I think that they've figured out, like the kind of sci-fi thing he figured out there about how this whole world, all the creatures are kind of connected, and there's these trees that kind of contain the souls of everyone, and it seems like a relatively plausible phenomenology of like all these ancestor souls that all these native, these Aboriginal people believe in are just the data of all these people being stored in some really complicated computer system that grows out of the ground that we don't understand. And I don't know. I found that to be completely like fascinating. And I kind of buy it, and just like some of the stuff was so epic and amazing. Like when they blow that tree up, it felt like September 11th. I was really emotional, and it really did. And there's people they're looking up because they can't fucking believe it, and the ash is like falling, and it's like I remember that feeling from September 11th, and it was like that's exactly they nailed it. You know what I mean? And it's just, I thought it was terrific. Besides all the kind of gee whiz cool stuff of giant blue people and stuff, and those big walking robot fighting guys and everything. All that stuff's cool. It's full of cool things and full of jazz that you enjoy. But I just thought it was so, and again, you've got the guy who's sort of a jerk at the beginning, who doesn't really give a shit, who kind of grows a soul and becomes a hero, and then becomes like the greatest hero possible. Yeah.
It's definitely
a bit of a white man's burden kind of cheesy thing where it takes this like white guy from Earth to be the savior of this whole native planet. You know what I mean? And that's a little imperialist, but I don't know. I thought it was I dug it.
No, I get that much. It's not a bad movie. It's just like here's where like a good movie is. That's kind of where Avatar was. But everybody was saying like, oh, Avatar's the best movie ever made. And I went in with this expectation, and I was like, and I kind of got lost and distracted with all the cool stuff going on. I'm like,
well, expectations are the worst.
yeah.
I wish you could take a pill for low expectations.
You just enjoy life a lot better.
Yeah, then you'd be like, this will be fine. Then you go and you're like, holy shit, this is amazing, you know? And yeah, that's why, try to not have those high expectations. But that's the thing is, in my experience, I loved it. It was a huge hit. But most people I talk to are like, oh, Avatar, it's so stupid. You know what I mean? Like everyone feels like they're smarter than the thing that everyone loves. You know, so it's like, well, this was dumb, and I didn't like that, and there's sure you can find plot holes and silly things in it, but like Titanic is another example of that, where people love shitting on Titanic, just love shitting on Titanic, and I mean, but again, I saw it at the best possible, and I saw it at a 70mm theater at the cast and crew screening. James Cameron stood up and introduced it. My best friend was sitting next to me who shot the second unit stuff, like the guys shoveling coal, drowning, and, you know, the iceberg scraping across, and that shot of the silver. You know, so I was kind of primed for this to be an amazing experience, and it totally was. So, and like the thing is, and every time I see Titanic, I kind of go back to that feeling, you know. And even there, I thought it was kind of profound about, like, and at the end, like, when she finally dies, she, like, her kind of ghost goes up the stairs, and all the people are there, and there's Leonardo DiCaprio at the top of the stairs, like they're reunited in heaven, you know, 100 years later, or 90 years. It's like, you know, beautiful.
Yeah, I definitely say that's a privileged viewing of the movie, because you're actually age appropriate to have seen it when it first came out. Like, I grew up with it being like an old movie almost.
Oh yeah.
Which is not to pick on you.
Like it's like Gone with the Wind. It's see, I feel like Gone with the Wind. Like, who gives a shit? Gone with the Wind. It's boring. It's long. It's you know.
See, and that's been my thing with Titanic is like, yeah, the boat sinks at the end, right? Got it. I was gonna ask Neil what he's been watching, but he took off.
Can I take you back to Avatar for a minute?
He's there. His camera's gone.
I just turned my camera off because I was smoking, so now we're on air. I'm being professional.
You can't undress on camera, so I understand.
Right. Can I get Mr. Gray's opinion on the Avatar potential sequels, though? Whether you think they're going to be as good, better, worse, whether it'll taint what the original did?
Gee, I don't know. I try not to have any expectations, like I said. I mean, I saw it in the movie theaters. I don't own it. I never saw like the extended cut where they added an hour of like more shots of animals running around and more craziness, because that I think is super overindulgent, and I'm against that sort of thing, you know. But you know, what does happen next? They didn't kill Giovanni Ribisi, who was sort of the villain. They just let him kind of take off from the planet, you know. And now our man is like fully Na'vi. He's gone into a real Na'vi body, and he's like no longer, you know, connected magically. He's like in this body. And so then what happens, you know? It's like on Star Trek, when they go to a planet, the whole planet is one thing, and then they deal with that, and it's like one town. But then planets are huge, you know? So they touch on it towards the end that there's all these other tribes and stuff. And, you know, maybe it's going to be about that and about all these other people around the world of this planet. I don't know. It seems like there's a lot of directions to go. Hopefully it's not just like, oh, my God, look at these other amazing animals we didn't show you before. Oh, here's some more crazy animals. Hopefully it's about, like, a good story. Because that's what all makes movies good, is a good story, no matter how much gee-whiz stuff you have in it. But I don't know. I have a lot of faith in James Cameron. He has such high standards for himself that he doesn't seem to just do things for the money. He just does things because he's really into it and really digs it, you know? And I don't know. I have a lot of faith that he'll do something interesting. And the other thing that's interesting is he makes these movies, and then he cuts stuff out to make them better, you know? Which is, there's a scene in Titanic that you could find online of an alternate ending, which they shot, and they edited it, where she's about to throw the necklace into the ocean, and the whole crew, like the whole boat crew sees her, and they come in there and start talking to her, and there's this long dialogue scene where they're arguing, they don't throw it off, and she's like, makes this speech, and then she throws it off. And it's like the movie just stops dead, and it's like so fucking stupid. But she knew that and took it out, you know? And that's what people like George Lucas and The Phantom Menace didn't know how to do, was take out the things that were dumb and ruin the movie.
That's an editing process right there, though, for Phantom Menace.
Oh, yeah. Totally. So if you look back, there's deleted scenes from Star Wars, the original Star Wars, that are just amazing because they're so dumb. There's a whole scene of Luke Skywalker walking around a marketplace with Biggs talking about power converters and how he wants to go to the academy and repeating every plot point that we already know. And you can find it on YouTube. It's just, and he's wearing a big floppy hat like Gilligan. It's just crazy.
I just see just the scene with like Harrison Ford walking around Jabba.
Oh yeah.
Back before he was a worm. And then like what they added in where he steps on his tail.
Yeah, but it's just so self-indulgent. Though, you know what? I read a rumor yesterday on Facebook that since Disney now owns all of this stuff, they have control of how they're going to be remembered. And George Lucas had always said, no, my special editions, that's the final way Star Wars will always be. But now Disney says, well, no, the people, the fans, really want to see it the original way, just remastered in HD. And if they come out with a Blu-ray of the original trilogy in HD, but exactly like the released versions, I would run to Costco and pick that up. Because those movies are great, and they did such a fucked up job doing these special editions, adding all these little flying dinosaurs and things, that it's a travesty. And Disney is smart. Disney knows how to make things people want.
I totally agree with that. Gotta give credit. Sorry, go ahead.
You saying that reminds me. I remember watching. I think it might have been a collector's edition, or it was a redone version of what we know to be Episode 6. That very final scene where they've got the the final sort of party thing, and there's the ghosts in the background. Yeah. And you've got Vader as he appeared as Anakin appeared in Episode 3, and it's just completely not right and wrong, and it's how it originally happened.
That's horrible, because it's like the ghost of Yoda and the ghost of Obi-Wan Kenobi, and then there was the ghost of fat Anakin Skywalker, which is how it always was. But then he dissolves into the ghost of young Anakin Skywalker.
It looks so wrong and horrible. Because that's not how it was supposed to be.
Luke would look at them and smile and see Hayden Christensen. He would go, "Who the fuck are you?" Oh God, yeah. That's the only boner. I mean, in Return of the Jedi and Empire Strikes Back, they didn't fuck them up that bad. They just added more spaceships and stuff. But the New Hope, God, it just ruined it. Because it was already long and kind of slow. They added these extra scenes to slow it down.
Yeah, I definitely say that it builds up to set up for Empire Strikes Back, which is where a lot of the action happens, and then it all comes together in the third movie.
Well, I remember when I saw Empire Strikes Back in the theater when it was new. I was like, 13 or 11 or 12, I guess, and I didn't like it because it ended on such a downer note. He gets his hand cut off, and then he falls out of that thing, and he goes, "Father," like psychic, and then fly away. They're all just standing there looking out the windows. I was like, "Well, that's what? Come on! Why not put the snow battle at the end? That was much more exciting."
No, that was the best. That's why it's my favorite out of those three movies.
Well, it is now. It is my favorite because it's by far the best one in context. But standing alone with not knowing, having any idea what comes next, it was kind of a disappointment at the end.
Okay, maybe I can see that.
Still won 5 times though. Those tauntauns were cool. My God, remember that's the first shot you see. You're like coming down from the sky. It's this little thing running across, and you don't know what it is. Then they get closer. It's this thing like running across. It's like so cool. Memories.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think the first time I watched them, I actually watched all 3 movies back to back. Like my uncle was sitting down watching them again because we had got them on VHS. And I was like, I don't want to watch. He's like, just sit down. So, like, I sat there with my juice cup or whatever and watched.
Awesome.
Charlie, what was your first experience with Star Wars? You're young.
I tell you what, it's a weird one for me because I saw the original trilogy, did it again back to back. One of my housemates at the time had got them on DVD, so we just marathoned it with a lot of pizza, and that was a very good night. But I remember, I've got this memory of there being a little theatre in the city where I grew up, and I remember seeing the Phantom Menace there, and I can't remember what caused it, but I went with some family, and we ended up leaving about halfway through. I remember there being one scene where this is probably wrong because I haven't seen it since, but I think it's Leia and Maul are having like this kind of discussion in some kind of big chamber type thing, and that's the last memory I have before having left the cinema. So this is when it came out. What was that? 2001?
Which film are you talking about?
Phantom
Menace.
There's no Leia in the Phantom Menace.
Okay, it was something in my head. I
Padme.
haven't seen it since. I haven't.
It's probably Padme. Natalie Portman.
Yeah, that's probably it. But yeah, so I just remember some kind of confrontation scene between a female character and Maul, and then I don't remember how it ended. But yeah, I must have been about 8 at the time.
Those films actually are worth watching, though. But if I can give you advice, watch the DVD and just put on the commentary track. Because if you watch them with the commentary track, it's gorgeous. And there's all these smart people talking about all this clever stuff they did and all this beautiful art, and you lose all the bad dialogue and all the bad acting. And you get all the good stuff, but you lose all the bad stuff that way. It's not like a real movie anymore, but, you know, it makes it much more watchable. Like that pod race, I enjoyed that. I liked a lot of stuff.
The pod race was amazing. I loved the pod race scene.
Yeah.
But then again, I think I want to be able to sort of Jar Jar was. Sorry?
I mean, your generation is who the Phantom Menace was made for, not mine. My generation all hated it. But, like, you know, my son is 18. You guys are in your 20s? You know.
21, yeah.
I'm 30, Mark. I'm not that young.
Anyway, but, you know, a lot of people who were of that age, who were like kids when it came out, you know, had no problem with that little fucker driving that spaceship, you know?
How about you, Neil? I can't even remember how old you are.
I'm 26, man.
Okay, so you're headed towards me, but what was your first experience with Star Wars?
In all honesty, I can't really remember my first experience with it. I'm not a big Star Wars fan, so I can't say it really left a lasting impression on me.
Oh wow, it's impressive to meet a lesser Star Wars fan than myself, because I kind of shrug a lot at it. But
if it came down to that age-old rivalry, I'm more of a Star Trek fan than a Star Wars fan. I grew up watching Star Trek: The Next Generation, so Captain Jean-Luc Picard is the man, and that is end of story.
He's pretty cool. I'm a Kirk. I love Kirk. I love Captain Kirk because he bangs all those chicks. You know.
Space.
He'll get in fisticuffs with people, and he'll like, you know.
I'm a bit young for that. I think I might have caught the back end of it, but it was mainly Patrick Stewart that I saw when I was growing up.
Yeah, that came out when I was in college, I think. Yeah.
It must have been a while ago.
We watched it the first episode they did, and we were all excited about it. And I was in film school at the time, and I expected that all anyone would talk about would be Star Trek the next day. But there was an earthquake at like 8 o'clock in the morning in L.A. And so that's all anybody talked about. So no one talked about Star Trek at all until like weeks later.
But yeah. Sorry, I cut your conversation short there. I've got literally nothing to say about Star Wars.
That's all right. We can segue on. I don't know if we want to sit here and talk about Star Trek because, well, actually, the third movie's in jeopardy now because Abrams jumped ship to go do Star Wars, right?
Well, I don't think it's in jeopardy.
Well, it's not going to have as many lens flares as it should, right?
Oh no, that means Star Wars is going to be one big lens flare.
He does like that. It's true.
I never noticed, but everyone always makes fun of him for it.
I never noticed until someone mentioned it, and now I notice it all the time. You know.
Yeah, now that I know it's there, I can't help but notice.
Yeah.
I get into the movies and I forget about it. Because I don't know what it is, what Abrams did with it, but I can watch both those movies back to back. It's ridiculous.
He knows how to do likable people doing interesting stuff. He draws you in. And, like, in spite of the ridiculous plot holes in the second one, like, just super ridiculous plot holes, I still just loved it. Had a great time.
There's some bad points in it, but it's still really good. It's enjoyable. It's less of a good movie and more of one I enjoy, I would say.
Well, to me, I think that's a false distinction. A movie you enjoy is a good movie. You know what I mean? Because it's like, how do you, it's all about, do we have to judge things? We have to judge this is good and this one is bad, and this one is quality and this one is, there's all these. It's all just vectors. It's all just a continuum.
You're right.
Like I liked this. Like there are movies that I liked this much 10 years ago, and I like this much now.
I've enjoyed enjoying bad movies like in the past. Like Clerks, I would say is my testament example. Clerks is a $28,000 black and white shitty movie, but I really like it.
Well, I would never call that a bad movie. It's a cheap movie. I think
Agreed.
Clerks was terrific. Clerks nailed it. He absolutely nailed it. He did this movie on something he really knew, and and it was so honest. And the thing is, because it was so shitty looking, because it was so out of focus and dim and questionable, you cut it all kinds of slack for every other problem that it might have had, like any bad acting or any kind of dumb dialogue or whatever. You just kind of forgive all that because you've been calibrated lower by it being black and white and cheap looking and all in one room. You know what I mean?
I love the dialogue. I thought that's my favorite part about Kevin Smith is his dialogue.
Yeah, but yeah, he's not much of a director though.
He's gotten better.
Sure.
I will say that. If nothing else, Red State proves that.
I haven't seen it.
It's kind of an extreme, violent movie, but you see him moving the camera around. You see him doing like big directorial type stuff with shots and statements, especially where like they get in the shootout and there's a famous scene like towards the end where it's like the main FBI agent versus the main bad guy, and they get right in each other's face, and it's just fantastic shot.
Oh, okay.
But it was kind of issue to him. He talked about it. I don't know if it was on a podcast or one of his DVDs, where like he has this big gay friend of his, like that kind of challenged him. Is like, you can't do that. You're not the type of guy that would be able to do a movie where like the rapture happens at the end. And so Kevin challenged himself to kind of write this movie that's so much different from everything else he's been doing, and he actually gave the credit to doing that from not only from his friend, but having done movies like Cop Out, and Zack and Mary Make a Porno, where he didn't think it was his best work.
Right, yeah, but he's retired a couple of times. He said, I'm not doing any more movies. He's like, well, okay, one more. Like right now, he's doing one about a guy gets turned into a walrus.
Yes, Tusk. I'm super excited for that. And the funny thing about that is that delayed the Clerks 3, because he's declared Clerks dead 4 times now. He's like, we're not doing this anymore.
He needs to make $1 just like all of us, He's gonna, and unless it's like something he hates, if there's a market for it, he'll do it. I'm sure.
Oh yeah, I'm waiting for Jay and Silent Bob Over the Hill, where it's like literally him and Silent Bob in a retirement home, and he gets to sit in a wheelchair the whole time, dressed up like Batman.
Well, now that Jay is like off of heroin, it might be easier to make,
Yeah, Charlie, did you have something? Is that what that was?
Yeah, I just want to go back to this. What's this? A film about a man becoming a walrus? Or what? So I know I've had a drink, but come on, that just sounds ridiculous.
It's great. Mark, do you want to tell it?
Well, I don't know the whole story. I think it's about like a kind of a mad scientist, kind of in a human centipede kind of vein, that turns this drifter, starts turning him into a walrus. And,
it's almost the opposite. It's actually this really rich guy who had lived like on an island or something for a while by himself, and the only friend he had was this walrus that would come up on shore, and he would sit there and talk to it. So what he started doing is he put like an ad or something, and this is a real guy. He actually hired someone to come on and put on this real walrus skin suit and pretend to be a walrus for 2 hours a day. Like, that actually happened.
That's the true story it's based on.
Yes. So Kevin Smith got a hold of this story, and I think he actually got in touch with the guy to get his approval on the story. And the guy gave him a thumbs up, and he's like, I'm going to make this movie where this guy dresses up like a walrus.
Yeah, I'm on Wikipedia about it now.
I thought he was turning him into a walrus in some weird kind of.
Well, and that may be the spin that Kevin's taken it, is that, like, instead of just being like his hired help friend, let's trap him in the walrus suit for.
Well, there's a film in the '70s that I used to see on TV when I was a kid, called just a bunch of S's, you know.
Oh, okay.
Like what a snake would say, and it's about this kind of mad scientist in the woods, and this drifter meets him, and he gives him some medicine for something, and his skin all sort of peels off, and he slowly turns this guy into a snake in his basement, and it's so creepy and gross and scary. Like halfway through, the guy's in this like rubber suit with his arms in it, going with kind of this snake face. Oh, it's terrifying. You know, to an 8-year-old, it's terrifying. You know?
No,
It's one of those things that every time it comes on, I'd be like, "Oh, that's a scary movie. I don't want to see that."
And apparently, it's not on Netflix yet. 1973. I'm saving that to my queue.
Tusk isn't supposed to be coming out until Q3, apparently.
Till when?
Q3.
Q3?
Yeah.
I don't know when that is.
That's
July, August, September.
Yeah, that's
August?
July to September.
Well,
So many good things are going to come out this fall. Mainly in video games, but
And they've just announced Halo 5.
I'm not excited for that.
Moving on.
I'm really not.
Video game.
Say again?
There was just an ad I saw for a new video game, Wolfenstein.
Oh yeah, they finally fixed Wolfenstein. They all but scrapped it at one point, and they brought it together. It's a 20-hour first-person shooter campaign, which is like currently unheard of.
Is it? Oh, it looked cool. I mean, I played Castle Wolfenstein when it looked like Minecraft, you know. But
Yeah, back when you fought zombies like Doom style.
Yeah, exactly. It was pre-Doom. I played it in black and white, as a matter of fact.
Oh,
My
really?
hand-cracked computer.
That's great. But yeah, we've got to be real close to doing a Wolfenstein movie. That's got to be in the wings.
Oh, I'm sure something's got to be in development.
I don't know. I would have thought they would have already started doing that if they were going to have done it already.
Well, I
it's
mean,
been
they had
around for,
Blood Rain.
30 years, right?
Well, Blood Rain got in the way, I think, because that was another Nazi-based crazy type thing. So I think the market was bad for it for a while.
I think it's like people don't like. I don't know. You have to be Steven Spielberg to make movies with Nazis, I think.
It's definitely a turnoff for me. Like I hear not World War II or Nazis, and like I get bored unless you put a nice spin on it, like Hellboy.
Did you see Iron Sky?
No.
Iron Sky was on Netflix, and it's sort of this alternate present, slight future, and these astronauts are on the moon, and there's this black guy who's like a model or something. He's on the moon, and they go over this crater, and there's this huge city in this crater, and the Nazis went to the moon in the 1940s and have been building this huge Nazi civilization in the moon, and they've got rockets, and they've got all this stuff, and they capture this American black astronaut, and they turn him white for some reason. Anyway, it's full of huge special effects, but it's a cheap-ass movie with no stars in it at all. But I think it might be German produced. No, maybe not. But it's very weird, and it's all black and white. And it's on Netflix, and it's
this is the one I was thinking of. It's an enhanced black and white.
Well, it's just pretty much black and white as far as I can remember. But it looked cool. But called Iron Sky, and Sarah Palin is the president.
Yeah, there's somebody I recognized from this. I thought, because I was like, oh, it's what I immediately thought of. There was another pilot movie, Captain something and something of Tomorrow.
Oh yeah, Sky Captain: The World of Tomorrow.
Yeah, there you go. That's what I thought of when I saw it. But
that was the first feature film that was just all green screen and virtual sets. It was Gwyneth Paltrow and what's his name, Jude Law.
Yeah, and Jude Law's on my.
It's kind of like a Fleischer Brothers Superman, where it's 1930s and there's giant robot automatons attacking New York, And it's all black and white, and there's zeppelins, and it looks totally cool. And there's a short film that's 10 minutes long that it was based on that was just beautiful. And they made this, and they started out as this really cheap, it's a good story. It was a cheap independent film, and they had like 5 guys working on it. And then Disney bought it like while they were in production, after they'd shot it, while they were doing all the effects, and they kind of had to shoot it all over again. And suddenly this like $8 million movie became a $50 million movie. Wow. And they put all these more people on it, and it doesn't completely work. It's cool though. It's really a fun movie, and it looks really beautiful. But there are scenes where Gwyneth Paltrow is like walking through the streets of New York, like taking pictures, and then they cut to what she sees, and it's like a 500-foot tall atomic robot. She's just kind of, like not reacting enough to it,
Every time he says giant robot, Neil, I keep expecting Brooks to jump in.
Why is that?
Well, because he's the resident big robot guy. Brooks is one of our other anime guys, and he notably likes Evangelion. Am I saying that right, Neil?
Yeah, I think so. It's just down to pronunciation. I'd say Evangelion, but that's because I'm British.
Okay, so it's just funny. I keep expecting, like, oh, Brooks, but I don't know. Anyways,
I haven't heard much of Brooks at all, to be honest with you.
Oh, really?
I'm subscribed. I'm still subscribed to him, but I don't even. Has he uploaded much recently, or is that just me?
No, he's been kind of out of it. He's been getting on podcasts with other anime community stuff. Like not to call him out, but like last week I caught him on one right before we went on. So I was like, oh, this is kind of interesting, but I gotta go do our show. So I don't know. I figured you guys would keep in touch, like anime solidarity or whatever. But what have you been watching?
What have I been watching?
Yeah, come on.
Honestly, the last 4 films that I can remember watching that I've written down was it Jack Ryan Shadow Recruit?
That's a movie. Right?
Oh, it's a Tom Cruise movie, right?
No, it's what's his name? It was that guy that played Kirk in the new Star Trek.
Oh,
Chris Pine.
Yeah. That's
him. I've obviously seen The Amazing Spider-Man 2 recently. Who hasn't seen that?
I have not.
Oh, really? Well, everyone would have seen that one.
No,
nursing home. I haven't seen shit.
Yeah, Mark's been out of it.
I stayed on Mad Men.
Sell me on it, though. Give me your opinion.
Sell you on it. I honestly couldn't sell you on it. It is a good film, don't get me wrong. It's a really good film. But if you watch the trailer makes it out to be a lot better than the actual film. Like, it sells you on the fact that he's fighting 3 of his enemies in one film. And essentially, he's just fighting Electro with a small appearance by Rhino, which is shown in the trailer. The bit that they use in the trailer is literally what's in the film. That's how minute it is. And the Green Goblin is like, well, obviously Harry Osborn's through the film, but as the Green Goblin, he makes like a small 10-minute appearance, and that is it. So in terms of what you see in the trailer, and you think, oh, there's going to be all these battles, and there's essentially just one battle, followed on by like a little punch around sort of thing. It's a little bit of a letdown, but overall, if you enjoyed the first film, you're definitely going to love it.
Well, I had some problems with the first film, but if you look at Spider-Man 3, that was everyone's biggest complaint. It's like, oh, there's too many villains. You can't follow what's going on. Because it wasn't that there's too many villains. They structured it poorly.
Yeah.
So,
that's
like...
the one where he gets all goth and emo?
Yes.
I like that.
Oh, when he's down the street.
Honestly. Yeah, that was pretty funny. I thought the tango scene where like he like slides the chair across the room and everything was really good.
I thought that was everyone's biggest complaint, just that whole scene where he just sort of flicks his hair down a little bit and he's like, that's right, let's go.
Well, it's funny because it kind of makes fun of the idea of the symbiote, even though it's my favorite part of the Spider-Man universe is the symbiotes. I liked that little joke at it. But the other thing that really makes Spider-Man is the fact that he's kind of a normal guy fighting these fantastic villains, even if they're just crazy guys in suits, like the Sinister Six, like Rhino and essentially Osborn. And I think Amazing Spider-Man 2 is going to be a better movie in retrospect once they get the other movies out.
Yeah,
I like the last one, that first Andrew Garfield one, The Amazing Spider-Man. I didn't want to see it again. I just thought that they did a good job with like kind of real teenagery angst. You know, like he seemed like much more like a real kid.
I agree with that.
Yeah,
You know
yeah.
what I mean?
I think
And
Andrew Garfield did do a
Janice
much
talking
better
to sort of
job.
like this sort of clams up and doesn't look at her. And I don't know, there's certain like little behavioral things that like, yeah, he looks like a teenager. He really seems young, and like he's really having problems. That I bought, but I could give a shit about these movies really. You know? When I found out that Electro is created because Jamie Foxx falls into a vat of electric eels, I was like, all right, guys, you're not even trying anymore.
I don't even know the origin of the actual Electro, but it had to be better than that.
He falls in electric eels. I'm like, that's dumb. I'm sorry.
It's not even the right kind of electricity because Electro's actually a really powerful villain. He can actually dematerialize himself and escape through the power lines. Like, that's a cool villain.
Okay.
Because like, how do you contain someone who can get out through an outlet?
I'm more excited about the X-Men film this summer.
The new X-Men one?
Because that's got a lot of heavy hitters in it, like a lot of really good actors, you know.
Well,
You got the whole two
having
different
heavy
generations
hitters doesn't
of the
necessarily
same characters in the same movie, linking these worlds together. That's kind of a cool idea. That's a lot of balls in the air, you know.
Wait, what were you saying about Lincoln? I missed part of it.
Well, you know, you got the young Magneto and Dr. X and the old Magneto and Dr. X in the same movie.
The old and the new universes. Okay.
And time travel, which apparently is something from one of the comic books, and so it links together these two worlds of two like they pre-booted it, you know, and did like the First Class, and then then they're joining the whole they're like it's like franchise heaven, you know. They're like, this is for everybody. Now 10 people can be spun off, you know. So we'll have like the Mystique movie now, and then we'll have the Magneto movie, and we'll have the guy who yells movie, and the blue guy movie.
Banshee and Beast and Gambit. Yeah. Neil, did you have something else you were trying to add in there? I don't want to jump ahead of you. You had said something.
No, sorry, I forgot what I was going to say. No, I was going to say that just because there's like A-lister stars in the film does not necessarily mean that it's going to be good.
No, but what they are going to try to do with that, because that actually helps my point, is they're trying to capitalize on Wolverine. Because Wolverine is this noted entity in the comics of being a solo guy and having his own franchise, essentially.
Yeah.
And because they managed to do a Wolverine movie, they're trying to do that with like Mystique and Gambit, and we're going to see it fail somewhere. Somewhere they're going to.
Honestly, in my opinion, as much as I like all these comic book movies, and obviously they're doing the Gotham TV show and Arrow and The Flash and all this kind of crap, that's essentially what it is. Like, some of them are good, but it kind of feels like the pool's been tainted. There's too much. There's no originality. They're just literally copying what's been done and making it into like a viewable format that isn't a comic, if you know what I mean.
No, that's what I want them to do, and they're not doing that. So
what do you mean that's what they're doing? They're bringing out The Flash, for Christ's sake. That's another one. How many more are they going to do?
Well, no, they're gonna hit on all these heroes because the opportunity's there. But like there's certain characters that are part of a team. The team is the franchise, and not necessarily like DC's a whole other bag because like Flash is definitely his own thing. Arrow's that whole Starling City is its own franchise. Gotham's its own franchise, and the two actually intermingle quite a bit, surprisingly. But no, I want them to go, hey, here's the comic. Oh, look, here's our script. But they don't do that. They like Walking Dead's a noted example of them going off script.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I do enjoy some of these shows. Obviously, they do sort of diverge from the comic books, but I kind of feel they're doing it too much. There's not enough original content being made. There's not original movies coming out. It's just, another Spider-Man movie.
Right,
Another Batman movie. You know, it's just the same stuff being regurgitated, being rebooted over and over again.
Yeah, but the reason
we're probably going to have to deal with that for the next 5 years at least.
Well, that's because that's what the audience pays for. Like, all of these reboots and sequels tend to be giant hits. Though when you make some original IP, some new intellectual property, that's, you know, just as good, like a Pacific Rim, it does no business because there's no familiarity to that. You know what I mean? I mean, Hellboy, that was the first new kind of character that we got in a long time for one of these. You know what I mean?
Talking about Hellboy?
This was great. You know what I mean? Huh?
You said Hellboy?
Yeah. Like when
No,
Hellboy came out, I hadn't heard of Hellboy until that movie came out. You know?
No, it's because it's an old Dark Horse comic.
Right.
Like I think it's as old as X-Men. But
Oh,
you're
sorry.
right. It wasn't as popular.
But what I'm saying is, once Hellboy was a hit, that's unusual. So now we're going to have Hellboys forever. Okay? You know, Superman was a hit in the 30s. That's why we're on our 10th Superman now. And Batman, same story. We're on our 20th Batman. These are just
Honestly,
mythology. You know?
how many
Like,
Batman?
it's like there's been 100 Robin Hoods and 100 Sherlock Holmes and dozens of Batman and Superman, and they'll just keep doing it over and over again for every generation. It'll never end.
What the problem is, it should end. It's got to end at some point. I mean, for example, The Simpsons. The Simpsons is still going. I don't know how that crap is still on air. Honestly, that's been like 25 years going, and it's just the same stuff. Like the characters don't grow old, the problems don't change, and yet they still come up with ideas. And I didn't think anyone watched it anymore, honestly.
Well, enough people do. They keep making it. You know.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I watch it when I get a chance, but I don't go out of my way. You know.
And Neil, I agree with you to a point, though. Like you're right. These old ideas have to go, and people watch it because they're familiar with it. They're like, oh, it's The Simpsons. Let me watch this new Simpsons. But we do need new stuff. But that doesn't mean we can't keep converting mediums like on these comics. I'm happy for Batman to go until they kill him off in the comic for good. But that doesn't stop us from making things like Pacific Rim, which I have a tweet by Guillermo del Toro that got favorited, so I'm on record saying like it definitely broke the independent trend there. Like that movie did well enough to break the stigma.
I think Pacific Rim did so well that I think I actually just saw on IMDb that Godzilla actually like did amazingly well on its first day, but that was directly in a result from Pacific Rim. People saw big robots fighting big monsters, and they went, we want to see more of this just no-holds-barred action with big monsters. And they were like, you know what was shit? Godzilla. Let's remake it and make it so much better so everyone will watch it. And that's exactly what they've done. And if Godzilla's a big enough hit, they'll probably bring out some of the other Japanese giant monsters like Mothra. They'll probably redo that one.
This is like the 15th Godzilla.
15th Godzilla.
Sequels, but like reimaginings. You know, it's the same thing. It's like an old mythology. They make one movie of it, it's a hit, then they make another one. Then the next generation makes it again with their technology. Then the next generation makes it with their technology. We just had Roland Emmerich's Godzilla like 5 years ago with Matthew Broderick, and everyone hated it, even though it looked spectacular and they tore up all these buildings and everything.
I like it. It's all right.
Bigger, and kind of cooler, and you have Bryan Cranston in it. Because to me, that's what everyone's excited about is Bryan Cranston. You know. It's the same thing, but I don't. Pacific Rim, I think it did okay worldwide, but in America it didn't do any business.
Didn't it? I thought it actually did quite well altogether, to be honest with you.
Well, but I don't know. It didn't make any kind of cultural impact, particularly.
I think the biggest letdown was that moment. I'm assuming you've all seen it.
The new one, no, but go ahead.
No, I mean Pacific Rim. Sorry.
Oh, Pacific Rim, yeah.
So I think the biggest letdown and the biggest like what the fuck moment was the ending, because it had that whole they're gonna kiss moment, and then they just sort of hugged, and you're like, what? Did you not get that?
I think I know what you're talking about. I think the point there is that they've been in each other's heads, so they're already more intimate than they could be if they just got down and screwed right there. But
well, that's obviously what they were going for, but
it doesn't look
the way
good.
They were sort of looking at each other, you got a different impression completely, not like one of brotherly love or something. You know, I got a completely different vibe from it even.
No, it's not typical. I agree. Because with the psychic immersion, it changes everything. I would think. So I think in context that's the right way to do it. But from a standard person watcher, any generic person watching the movie, yeah, they expect that big kiss moment.
Yeah, I mean, let's not. I mean, the film was fun to watch, but there was a couple of plot holes. Like, let's face it, the fact that these Jaegers could only be controlled by siblings, and then a random like Asian woman comes along and they're like, "Oh, we're compatible." just like that is...
They weren't all siblings.
It doesn't make any sense. Well, no, because he was compatible with a woman that he wasn't even related to, and they'd only met for like 15 minutes.
No, it just, you needed two people, and you needed to find out if you were compatible, and it just happened to be that siblings were more likely to be compatible, I think. Am I wrong?
They take a 5-minute sparring match, and it just... We're sorted. We can go save the world.
No, I agree with you. There's huge plot holes. I don't enjoy. I'll go on record, even though it's a great movie. It was successful. I didn't particularly enjoy it because I'm not a big robot guy.
Yeah.
But it's an undersaturated market for big monster movies, because other than Godzilla, the only big monster movies I can think of are Pacific Rim, 50-Foot Tall Woman, because they've done that a couple times, and Cloverfield, which I actually really liked.
Yeah, well, I mean, Pacific Rim. I think Pacific Rim was because I think Del Toro wanted to make a Godzilla movie, and he felt like that thing was not being served. He wanted like giant robots fighting monsters, and he has his own kind of crazy monster aesthetic, which is pretty awesome. And that was what's the best part of it was the aesthetic, the way everything moved and looked, and the way they built all these crazy sets of the helmets and all this jazz. But no, the logic of it is totally made up. It's like, oh, well, we need 2 brains. Yeah, 2 brains. Yeah, then they're linked together. Yeah, that's it. Because that just creates drama when they get separated. It's just a dramatic thing they made up. There's zero basis. There's zero basis for any of it, really. It's just cool. That's all.
The pregnancy thing, too, right?
Huh?
The pregnancy bit?
Like if you're trying to drive a robot, you get a nosebleed. Uh-oh, that means your brain is broken. You get a nosebleed. It's like, if they could build these giant robots, can't they build a little bit of AI that you can just push go and it'll walk forward? You've got to do every step yourself with 2 brains linked together? That just seems asinine,
Yeah, give me a controller.
Go get them, Strikey! And then they go and just beat up the robots.
This right here. That.
If you can drive Lara Croft with that, you can drive a giant robot.
What is it? This is a standard for any psychic powers, though, that it makes your nose bleed. Why? How does that work? Why is that the common thing?
Right there, and it's, I don't know.
It'll fry your sinuses.
Yeah. I was thinking about the kids with psychic powers. Chronicle.
Yes. Yeah.
And well, they would get a nosebleed, then they had to back up and kind of work up to that next level of power,
Yeah. You know what? That's actually a good segue, because I mentioned that in, I think did I do change the scene? No, I can't remember. For Carrie, because this week's movie is Carrie 1976. Yeah, I put it at the end of my my comparison video. I mentioned Chronicle as my favorite Carrie movie.
So what's a Carrie movie? So these were there's a nerd that's abused who overcomes and becomes a monster?
Yeah, sort of, but with psychic powers, because that's kind of I don't. Who's on change the scene for Carrie? Is it me or you, Charlie?
It's you.
Okay. So I'll expand on this, but essentially, that's the Carrie movie I want to see is Chronicle, where he actually decides I'm gonna hunt down, or she decides I'm gonna hunt down these motherfuckers, and that's an hour of the movie instead of the other way around, where they're just screwing with her for an hour. But I don't know. That's where I see it. Is psychic revenge, I guess.
Psychic revenge. Yeah. Well, that's a classic tale. The underdog, the abused victim of bullies becomes the bully themselves.
But that's a strange thing, and I don't know when the last time you two saw it. I know Charlie and I watched it recently. At what point do we consider her a villain or a victim in that? Is she even a villain? Is she even the bad guy in that movie for real?
I never saw it, buddy. I don't know.
Oh, okay.
I wouldn't say so.
You don't agree, Charlie?
I don't think that, even though it's safe to say she goes a bit mental at the end of it, I don't think Carrie can ever be classed as a villain in this, because there's no evil intent. It's just a release of all this sort of negative energy that's been cultivated as a result of all this abuse. You see her trying to live a normal life but just can't have it, so eventually it just all explodes and you get the mad telekinetic psychotic rampage.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know. Oh, yeah, I wouldn't say she's a villain, but I wouldn't say she's not evil because the. I mean, she might have gone a little bit over the top, but you know, there's limits. Like if she just started chucking people around, then fair enough, she's got her revenge. But she was literally just murdering people, and that is obviously crossing a completely different line. So she hated these people to the point where she wanted to kill them, which is the same as a psychopath. So just because she was tormented first doesn't necessarily make it acceptable.
Okay, so you're getting into the answers to questions I didn't want to ask because I didn't want to put people on lines. Because you're saying she needs to be held accountable. Like,
Well, yeah.
yeah. So in that case, she would be a bad guy. But she can't. But if she can't remember doing it, if she was in medical shock, do we allow some room for error there? We're getting into the mutant registration question.
Yeah, I think. I mean, even if people don't remember doing something, they've still done it. It's like if a tree falls in the woods and there's no one to hear it, does it make a sound? Well, it does. It's just that you haven't heard it.
Yeah,
in
it
my
still
opinion.
squash that skunk. I mean,
So, you know, if someone kills someone in an alleyway, they've still killed them in the alleyway. It's just that you haven't seen it. So, yeah, whether you know you've done it or not, you should still be held accountable for your actions.
I agree with you, honestly. Like, I think at the end of the movie, like, something should have been done with Carrie in the version where she's still alive.
Yeah.
Charlie, would you come down on the opposite end of that? That's kind of what it sounded like.
Well, yeah, but
That's fine. Don't be scared.
I'm scared. No, I think. Well, obviously, you know, mass murder and all that destructive shit is obviously a bad thing, and I can completely see the point that you need to be held accountable because you have done it. But I think there's almost that level of justification because of everything that's happened. It almost becomes the outlet, and I'm basically trying to justify her actions without justifying mass murder here. That's really difficult line to tread.
I mean, I can understand the point of like justice. So you know, at the end of the day, an eye for an eye. So if someone does something bad to you, you can do, in my opinion, you can do it to them, and then you're even. But if you go too far, then that makes you worse than them. If you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So there's like getting revenge and getting even, and then there's like just killing people.
So I actually would have given her more credit if she had been more conscientious of it. Like if she'd been like, "Oh, you're dead, and you're dead. Everyone else have a nice dance." Like, I would have felt better about it. But she does lose her mind, and she's just like, "Everyone's dead." So like where Chris tries to run her down, because that happens in all three versions, because I've watched all three somewhat recently.
So fill me in. She goes all psychic, kills everybody at the end, but then snaps out of it and doesn't remember it.
Well, yeah, because she gets picked on like kind of her most of her life. So when the dance comes up, the popular bitch gets prevented from going to the dance, so she gets her guys together to kill a pig, get some pig's blood, and they set her up to dump it on her when she wins prom queen, because they fixed it so she wins prom queen.
Right. I know that scene.
Yeah. So at that point, that's where in all three scenes she kind of goes out of her head, and like her psychic powers take over. So like she's not like doing things, but she's standing there like in the maelstrom. And all like the basketball board comes down, hits somebody in the head. Lights black out, drop, start electrocuting the water from the sprinklers when all the fire starts. She's got the doors closed off so no one can escape, except for Chris and Billy Nolan, because that happens in all three movies too. So I don't know why that's.
So she does all this damage, and then what happens?
Well, she like kids are dying. like the teacher dies in the first and third versions, that's on her side, and then like random kids, not even the kids that necessarily were picking on her, but like just people in the way. And then she's in shock. She kind of comes out of it. And she leaves. She walks home, and in all three versions, she goes to her mom to get comforted, and there's a confrontation there. Because she doesn't. In the second version, she straight up doesn't remember what happened. In the first and third, I think she says it's hazy. Like it's something weird. Like I remember there being fire, and.
But is that where they leave it? They don't. She doesn't ever know what happened, or she doesn't.
Oh no, she dies.
Take ownership of it.
In the first and third versions, like the house collapses in on her. So So yeah, she's supposedly because the Carrie moment in Carrie is the final scene where they're at her gravestone and her hand pops out. So
that scared the living shit out of me when that happened. I was not ready for that, and I damn near screamed.
In the 1970s, horror movies, they don't follow the rule. They were not as, as strictly moral. I don't know. They were all on drugs back then, They would just do some crazy stuff. You're like, well, wait a minute. Why is that happening? That's morally ambiguous, Some friends of mine have a party every Halloween called Schlocktoberfest. And they put a projector in the backyard and play bad 70s horror movies. And everyone heckles like Mystery Science Theater. And it's pretty funny. But, geez, I don't know. It seems like she's this monster now. I don't know. I'm surprised. The studio picture doesn't have a more, like, redemptive ending. Like, she doesn't get, like, talked down by someone, or she doesn't, like, get punished. I guess she does get punished if the house falls off.
Well, yeah, and so in the first and third version, she gets killed, supposedly. But in the second version, she lives. Like, one of the girls who used to pick on her started being her friend. She gets her out of there and takes her to, like, another state. So they set it up for a second movie, which I haven't seen. But she's at least on the run from the law at that point. But she has no memory of the events.
Well, can she turn it on? Does she, like, master it finally? And is she able to kind of zing, get the cops with a little...
She did it to her mom. She did manage to attack her mom with it specifically. Which... it's still kind of she's a monster, but her mom kind of abused her, too. So, like, in order to go to the dance, she actually, like, throws her mom into a closet and locks the closet, and then leaves. And then, in the second version, at least, her mom tries to drown her in the bath, and she reaches out and crushes her heart with her powers.
It's a family entertainment. I get it. Sounds great.
Yeah, but in the first movie, she crucifies her, so it's actually a lot worse in the first movie.
You go to different kinds of films than I do, I guess. It's this is not the kind of film I go to.
This is Charlie's pick. We.
I read the book when I was younger. I must have read the book when I was about 15, and it really kicked off my love for Stephen King. So it was a film that I'd meant to see for a long time. So it was just a convenient excuse. I think my all-time favourite Stephen King book is Misery, though, rather than Carrie. Misery and then Carrie, I think.
I kind of like The Mist. That's when I think Stephen King now. That's where my head goes, is The Mist.
Stand By Me.
Okay, that's good.
Or Shawshank.
You guys stepped on each other. What?
There's also Shawshank Redemption.
Oh, that's a really good movie. Before I forget, Mark, there's a guy named Bob Shipman.
I gotta go.
Okay.
Go.
Bye. Oh yeah, get your boot or whatever it is. Okay, so I'll tell him when he gets back. I was just telling him about over on the Escapist. There's a guy named Bob Chipman who does Schlocktoberfest October, because he does movie reviews for the Escapist, and then he has his own show where he goes and talks about things independently. So I'll mention that when he gets back.
Platform Crutch.
But I think we're pretty much onto me for what we watched. I finished up.
We've got an hour and 20 minutes, and we're still only at that.
I'm happy with that. I really enjoy that. I'm gonna mute Mark real quick.
I've just done it.
But I finished up Switch at Birth. I caught up to where the discs are on Netflix. So I'm super excited about having watched it again because I really love it in the first couple seasons. For anyone who's unaware, it's about the start of the show is two 16-year-old girls who were switched at birth. One of them grew up kind of rich and privileged. The other one grew up poor and deaf. So like there's all this ASL in it, and I don't know why, but the deaf community kind of moves me a little bit when you add that in. And maybe Katie Clark is biased. I'm biased for that. But I think they ran out of shit to do by the end of the third season. Because they're starting to get ready to go to college, and it really seems like they're just doing traditional love triangles at this point. And it just happens to be a deaf girl in one of them. So,
Okay.
I don't know how I feel about that, because there's always a point where, like, I don't know if jump the shark is the right, the point where, I don't know if jump the shark's the right terminology, but there's a point where every series eventually starts to go downhill, and they should kill it. That's why I agree with you, Neil. Are you guys familiar with How I Met Your Mother?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know my opinion on this.
Yeah. I think you and I talked about it. But Neil, it's a 5-season show that went on for 9 seasons, right?
Honestly, it's one of those shows that I think I'll watch it if it's on TV. If it happens to be on and there's nothing better, I'll just watch it for the sake of it. But
so you've never seen it? Go ahead.
I've never seen it front to back. No.
No. Okay. Yeah. It's a show. I honestly think if you haven't watched it in chronological order, you haven't watched it, because it's literally supposed to be this guy sitting down telling you this story for 9 years apparently. But like there's no context for everything because everything's like a flashback.
Yeah.
So if he jumps around because there's flashbacks in the flashbacks, you lose all the chronology. I don't know if that's a word.
I mean, I always kind of saw it as like some kind of like spiritual successor. Well, maybe not successor, but like a spiritual sort of like sister to like Friends or something.
Yes! You said it.
Which, because, you know, if you cut out the whole he's telling his kids about a story about how he met their mother, it's literally just like a day-to-day. I mean, you do obviously get the story arcs where, like, you know, in Friends, for example, people were getting married, people were having kids. But overall, each episode was just its own individual entity. It wasn't, like, glued together, which is what How I Met Your Mother feels like. It's just short stories in each episode.
No, and I agree. Friends was notable for its formula because it was super episodic, but it has a really good serialization. How I Met Your Mother has something very similar, but they stretched it.
Yeah.
And I was hoping you'd say Friends because CBS is notably looking at Friends and trying to copy the formula. That's what that's my theory, anyways. Because they looked at how Friends went on for technically like 11 years, essentially. Because Joey was a whole thing afterwards. But you look at a 5-year or 5-season commitment like How I Met Your Mother, they stretched it to 9, trying to get that same notoriety like Friends. Big Bang Theory just got stretched to 9 seasons again.
I can't say I've really watched Big Bang Theory either.
If you're gonna watch it, go back and watch the first 3 seasons so you can appreciate it.
Like I've seen odd episodes, but it's like I do understand that there's quite a lot of people that love it. It's got quite a big following, but it's not really my thing.
But it's one of those shows where, like, depending upon what season you come in on, you like it for different reasons. So just because someone else likes Big Bang doesn't mean that you both like the same show. It's like that to me. I actually have a friend who I've been trying to get her to make a video or two and explore YouTubing. But we talk about Big Bang and serialized content a lot. Because that's the weird thing about like me being in Movie Club is that I like serialized content more than I like movies, I think. Which is probably why I like anime when I do. But okay, so moving on to an actual movie that I watched. because I did just kind of caught up on TV shows this week. Where was it? I can't remember what it's called. Jailbait. Honestly, I'm gonna shy you guys away from this.
Okay.
Though it sounds like it's actually pretty good. See if we pull up the actual description, because it's about a 17-year-old girl who supposedly, because you don't get to see a lot of it, is abused by her stepfather, and then she's sent to juvenile, what's supposed to be juvenile, for killing him. Which sounds super badass, right? Like, oh, there's kind of a revenge story in the beginning, and then we have to see her deal with the consequences. No, it's not that movie. She like kicks him off of him, like when he's going to like undress her, and then he hits his head on like a vase, and like something gets stuck in his neck, and he dies. First 5 minutes. Nothing triumphant about it. And then somehow she gets sent to prison. Probably due to her mother's testimony, because her mom was still in denial at that point. So, like, she gets sent to this juvenile prison or whatever. Mark, I did mute you, sorry. She gets sent to this juvenile prison, and essentially she just gets passed around. Like, the warden, like, she gets a couple people trying to protect her and help her out. Her cellmate, like... So it kind of is one of those movies where it's like it had a great potential for a story, all these great conflicts, but they turned it into like a low-grade porno.
It kind of sounds a little bit shady, to say the least.
I don't know if that's the word for it, but yeah, there's a lot of fucking going on in it. And there's just several points where it's like, I was a correctional officer. I don't think she'd be naked in that scenario. Solitaire was real interesting because it was not like, it wasn't shown in humane conditions. Like, they strip her down and they put her in there, which honestly would probably be kind of helpful in reality. But they put her in, it's like a concrete room with no windows. And it's like this weird hallway that doesn't exist. So there's nothing in there for her to interact with. It's just her and darkness. And then they put a tray in there for her to eat off of, and at one point she smashes the tray and like jabs a piece into her wrist.
What is this tray made of?
It looks like a fiberglass tray.
I thought they just used like tin trays or something in prison.
Well, so they used to use tin, I think, like in olden times, because that was cheap and like you couldn't really do much with it. You couldn't make a club out of it, but like you could sharpen tin. So they moved to making plastic, and like in reality, we do use a type of hard plastic, unbreakable plastic or fiberglass, so that you can't smash it and make weapons out of it.
And yet this 15-year-old girl managed to smash it in an empty room.
Yeah, so like it's to me, as someone who's been there, it's like, well, that's not going to happen. But they needed something for her to do with, because I think ideally because they were having her just like eat like this.
Yeah.
But like you'd still give her like a plastic spoon. And what the prisoner would do in reality is take this plastic spoon and just drag it across the wall until it's sharpened.
Yeah.
And that's what you would use to slit your wrist. Which is why you're not supposed to leave them alone with the crap for that long. But I don't know how prisons are over there, but American prison system's kind of weird. It differs state to state.
I can say I've never been to prison.
Yeah, I've not got any experience of that.
If you ever get a chance to take a tour and they like some weird opportunity like that, do it. Just do it and take the tour.
Well, have you seen the film? What is it, Bronson?
Yes, that's an amazing movie.
The funny thing is, I think what prison is it? I honestly can't. There's a prison in my city, and I can't remember what it's called. But Bronson is actually held in the prison in my city.
He's still alive?
He's like 70 odd. He's still alive.
Don't go to that prison.
Well, one of my brother's friends is actually like a prison guard, and he's actually like seen him and talked to him and everything.
Really?
Yeah. I didn't. I saw the film. I didn't even realise he was still alive, and then I only found out later that he's actually held at the prison that's. Well, I suppose it's not in my city, but it's like next to it.
That is not a situation I'd want to be in, where I'm in a room with that guy. I'll be honest. Bronson.
I think I know which one that is.
Oh, Woodhill. Is it Woodhill?
Yeah, Woodhill. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, not that you guys should give out your addresses or anything, but do you guys live somewhat close together?
I don't think so. I don't know.
I'm not sure.
Well, your country's only like 6 miles wide, but
You son of a gun.
I just never understood that, because you guys, all the UK people, like I've talked to Alan, Mr. Harry Britt himself, Steve over on Humanity, Jenny lives up in like Abington or some weirdness, Oxford. That's what she said. You guys all live like within the same state, like Georgia. Like if I put Georgia over England, you guys would all be in the same state. So to me, it just doesn't make any sense that you guys don't get together like.
Georgia shouldn't be over England in any comparison. Like in every comparison.
Well, I mean, England is still like if you were going from one side of England, like so if I went from my house to say Scotland, where like Liam is.
Yeah.
If I was driving, that would still take me 6 to 8 hours to get there. So it's still a long journey.
No, but that's why you meet somewhere in the middle, so it's only 3, and you do that like once a month or something, because you guys have this connection. But like I think Steve and Alan only live like an hour or so away from each other. Like so you.
I suppose if you live around like the sort of Midlands, like the middle of England, you're probably about an hour's reach from everyone.
It's just mind-blowing, because when I lived in Atlanta, like, everyone lived like a hour away from each other. It was just a given. Because it's in the same city, but...
I'll tell you what, actually. Was it Humanity? He actually lives in the same town as me.
See?
Ah, right, yes.
And
Steve,
I think I turned around to him ages ago when I was going for a night out. I turned around and I sent him a message on Twitter or something. I was like, oh yeah, I'm going out tonight. Do you fancy coming out? He just ignored me.
Oh, don't call him out like that.
I was like,
oh, that's bad. No, that bothers me when people.
But then at the same time, it's like, you know, I mean, I don't really know you. This is like the first time I've ever like properly spoken to any of you, like at least on video chat. So, and in that respect, I suppose most people probably wouldn't be up for meeting someone that they haven't really spoke to much online.
Yeah, that's fair.
So.
I get that. And that's totally fine. Like, it hurts my feelings a little bit, maybe, but like, it's you have no obligation to hang out with me. Like, if we're in the same place.
Yeah.
Like, I'm gonna be in California this summer, and then I'm gonna go to Texas. Like, I know there's good.
No worries.
Yeah, at VidCon, yeah. I mean, I definitely want to come shake your hand. Thank you for your work.
Don't talk to me like you know me.
So I should
You
know.
have to
Okay, I'm not gonna make that
over
joke.
him. It's a
Just
requirement.
stay 2 steps back. You know, talk to my my assistant.
You're gonna make me go through the puppet.
No, he's the boss. He's the boss.
No, can you supine again? Are you back to a point where you can actually use him?
Well, no. It's
Ooh.
about where it was. You know, because I've got an elbow fracture. You see, so it can only go so far. But you know.
Liam's in the crowd. Apparently, we have a viewer.
I have just noticed that, yes.
Yeah. So I mean, I've been saying that forever, Liam, and people don't like listening to me anymore. So.
It's only because you're in another country.
Well, no, like I didn't even say it earlier. I mean, Neil said it, but like I mean, like I've been trying to promote community with us forever, and like I don't understand why a UK meetup wouldn't be a thing. Because you guys are close enough where you can make it happen as like around VidCon or as a midpoint. And Liam's welcome to join us if he's got time. I don't know. But yeah, back to I guess the summer. Mark, I really hope you get back to a point where you can start working that puppet again for you. But
No, So the key to the puppet is this hand. It's this, which I just about got. It's this shoulder has a torn rotator cuff. That's the problem.
Oh, okay.
You know, and they've just now started treating it. I had an MRI yesterday, which is like the worst experience. But not the worst. But it's not great. But you know, it's hard to get your arm up like that, and I've got to get it up kind of like that to do Professor Puppet. That's not bad. I could probably do Professor Puppet like that, but I haven't like actually tried yet. I've been up for 3 days and haven't like sat down and done any puppet yet.
This is a weird question, but have you thought of like putting him on a hi-hat, so you can activate his mouth with like a foot pedal?
That's a dumb idea. Sorry, that's not going to work.
No, that's fine. I have no idea how that would work or anything.
You mean
so
a drum,
I'm just
like
curious.
a cymbal hi-hat.
Yeah, so that you can hook his mouth up, so you can foot pedal and make. No?
I think
Okay.
This hi-hat in my industry is a tripod that's this tall.
Oh, I've got one of those in the other room. Yeah.
Yeah, but no, I know what you mean. No, it's like there's more to it. It's not just up and down. You know, there's a lot more to it.
No, I totally see that. I was just thinking of alternatives because.
No, the alternative is just lean farther back, and I get my arm more like straight. You know.
Well, when you are next to him on camera,
it's a much lower thing. You know, to do with people at VidCon like that. I could probably do. It's really just the. I don't know. There's a lot of stuff that I take for granted I'd be able to do. Like when I interview a short person, I'd get down on my knees. I have a hard time getting down on my knees and back up now with my current, you know, impairments.
Yeah.
You know, so I can only interview tall people.
Well, I was just trying to think.
I thought about I was supposed to go to WonderCon with Greg Benson, and we were going to both film for each other like we'd done before. But that was like 2 weeks after I was in the hospital. And I had this fantasy of getting like a scooter, like one of those, you know, little rascals.
Yeah.
Riding around in that, because I could totally do the puppet from sitting in the scooter. I'd be down low, it'd be perfect, you know. And but that it was a non-starter, because those are hard to come by, the scooters, you know.
Oh yeah. You got to maintain them.
Well, it's just you got to have a car that supports it. You got to have like a van to carry it in.
Yeah, or put a rack on the back, because I've seen that around town.
Yeah. No, I did notice that convention centers, they own them and they hire them out.
Oh, okay.
Maybe I could just get one at VidCon. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm sure they'd accommodate you.
We'll see.
Inquire.
We'll see. Tomorrow's the Renaissance Fair. My plan is to go to the Renaissance Fair tomorrow and just walk around with my boot. You
said you're taking the kids, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that'll be a fun time. It's one of the few like event things where that I can think of where like you can take the family and still have a good time.
I don't know, Comic-Con, VidCon, all that stuff you can take your family.
Well, those are big like once a year convention. Well, I guess Renaissance only comes around once a year.
Yeah, it's like 7 weekends in the spring.
Yeah, I used to hang out with my buddy. He's got a couple kids, and like I've been in their lives a bunch. And we try to think of like special events to go do with them. And I'm not a parent, so I'm not thinking about it all the time. But like you do Six Flags, and his kids are too tiny, so they can't do roller coasters.
Right.
And then like we tried to do Renaissance Fair, and they were being little brats because they're like, it's hot. I don't want to walk anymore. Take these ears off me. I don't know.
Take this bodice off. It's constricting and making my bosoms protuberant.
I'm gonna move past that one because his kid's too young, and happy birthday, Fiona. I'm gonna leave that alone.
Yeah, I made her a bodice last year.
Oh really?
Yeah.
You guys do so much cool stuff like that. That's gotta be awesome.
Yeah, I was gonna make myself a pirate shirt this year, but I just haven't had the time. You know, because I was gonna do it like I thought. I'll do it Thursday when I come home. It's like no, way too much else to do. Just like sorting stacks of shit around here. You know.
I can relate to that a little bit. I'm still going. I just moved within the past couple months, and I'm still trying to get fully adjusted and get through all like my paperwork and stuff that's built up. And, yeah. Okay, so I think we kind of covered what everybody's been watching, unless you've watched anything else. We didn't talk about Mark, so we got through the other guys. Oh, I did want to mention something for you to watch at some point. There's a guy named Bob Chipman over on The Escapist. Fridays he has a movie review show. He's doing current movies, but Tuesdays he does Bob's Big Picture, and every October he does Flocktoberfest on there. So at least like this fall, that may be something you can go over and enjoy, because he's got really good thoughts and stuff.
Cool.
But
So it's time to wrap this up. It's been an hour and 40 minutes now. Are we?
Oh man, are we that far? Yeah.
Good to go.
Yeah. We can start wrapping up. Does anybody have anything else they really want to talk about for upcoming stuff? Or upcoming projects and stuff they're doing on their own channels? I know Mark's getting back into things, but
I just finished my vlog every day in April with 40 episodes, 42 or more.
Okay, Charlie, what you got coming up?
Well, now that I'm through the worst week of my exams, thank God I did a load of pre-recorded content, otherwise I would not have had a thing. So it's just going to be a case of getting back to where I was. I think that's it, actually. I don't think I've got anything new other than just basically a continuation of everything that I've already doing. I did want to ask you about what we're doing, because we're reaching the end of what we'd arranged for the calendar already. So I don't know how you want, because obviously you and I in particular have got dates where we aren't going to be here. So I didn't know how you wanted to arrange anything.
Well, we've got Neil coming up after me, and then if no one else has expressed interest in taking a week, Mark, you are invited to have a week on if you want. Pick a movie for us and come on and do a quick video.
I kind of got my hands full.
I'm not saying like immediately. I'm saying like in the future at some point.
Oh, sure.
So just keep us in mind if you want. Because I think I've got next week, and then Neil's after that, and then I think what we're going to end up doing is throw Charlie. Charlie, I think you should probably go back on there, and then I'll take the week after that, and then Neil, if you still want to keep in the rotation, we'll keep you in. I know you've been busy. What do you got coming up?
What, you mean video-wise or life-wise?
In general, life. What's upcoming in your future?
Not a lot, to be honest with you. I don't really plan much ahead. I just sort of wing it, if you know what I mean. So, as you might have noticed, I haven't really uploaded a lot of videos recently because I got a new job and that's been a bit hectic. I literally get called up like the day before, and they're like, "We need you in tomorrow." So days off that I think I'm gonna get, I don't get, and so it's all a little bit chaotic at the minute. So aside from that, I am trying to get back into the swing of doing videos. I put up that one the other day, didn't I? That game, Binding of Isaac or something.
Yeah, I did notice you had started playing that game.
And that's more because I tried using that open broadcaster software, because obviously I know you've been recording some gameplay recently, haven't you?
Yeah.
And at the minute that seems to record well, and it keeps the file size down quite small, which saves me a lot of hassle, because most of the time you record the file, it's like 20 gigabytes, you then have to render it, which could take like an hour, 2 hours before you can upload it. So hopefully using this I can like maybe do minor edits if necessary, but hopefully if I don't need to edit it, I can literally just upload it, film it and upload it. So if that works out well, if I'm comfortable with the software, which I'm still fiddling with, then I'll probably get some more gameplay up. But as usual, if I can do a movie review, if I can fit one in, if my girlfriend's happy to watch the film with me, then yeah, I'll watch the film and I'll try and get a review out. But I'm sad to say I make no promises.
No worries. Just let us know when you can do what, and I think with 3 weeks' notice, we should be able to give you a week on another time. But yeah, so like I've been doing some gameplay footage stuff over on Gaming Division. Charlie's been over there playing some Pokemon, and we're gonna try to get together whenever we can to play. Like Sid actually wanted to play this weekend too, which will be fun. But other than that, I've got another how to play for a card game planned. But I've been doing a lot of programming stuff, so I'm trying to get everything balanced in my life. So I'm programming GameBox so we can play some card games online. And then movie-wise, I've got Jurassic Park 1 through 3 ready to go. Or like not ready to go, but ready to edit. So when I can get through all that, I'll get that out. But next week is Red vs. Blue, season 2. So if you want to join in on reviews for that, do your review, include hashtag WeAreMovieClub. You can get it caught up on season 1 over on Rooster Teeth's YouTube channel or their website. It's better if you watch as a whole thing, but that's what's going to be coming up is Red vs. Blue, and as I promised, we're going to kind of go through a lot of them, because once we get to like season 6, it's a whole new game, and it's going to get amazing. I just want that context built up. All right, Mark, you want to plug your channel and everything?
Oh, Professor Puppet, nothing new there, but that'll lead you to Mark W. Gray, which is MW Gray, which has got the whole chronicle of my entire motorcycle accident recovery, with lots of laughs and lots of tears and lots of jazz and other fun stuff. You get that insight of what the American healthcare system is like, which, you know, I can't recommend, but it's okay, you know.
Lots of ukulele.
It's a ukulele as well, lots of ukulele.
Yeah, you guys are actually pretty good. Let me mention that while that's the topic. I liked it.
You know what? My Hotel California cover that I did was close enough that I got a content ID flag on it.
Oh, that's impressive.
Well, hey.
I know. The Eagles have claimed the income on my Hotel California video, so I was a little proud of that. So that's cool.
All right, Charlie, want to plug away?
Yeah. Yeah, my YouTube channel, youtube.com/snowdog140. I'm doing movie reviews for as many as 3 different places at any one time because I'm that dedicated and or silly. I do my Pokemon playthrough on my channel and Gaming Division. I vlog about things occasionally. That's about all I do on there at the moment, because I think if I tried to do anything more, I would just explode. So you can look at all of that. My Twitter, @TheCharlieM as well. You can find me there. I have Instagram as well. I just tweet pictures of beer mainly, which is all good because I'm a bit of a drinker.
Neil?
Okay. My YouTube channel, as you can see at the bottom, is Damon Fox UK. Don't ask about the name. I picked it like a million years ago, and it's just stuck with me. I do gaming content. I do reviews. I do rants. I do vlogs. I basically just do whatever I feel like doing, with no real intention of following conformity, I guess, to an extent. And my videos are pretty sporadic at the minute due to a busy lifestyle. So don't expect much, but it'll be worthwhile when it's up, hopefully. And that's it. That's all I got.
All right. I'm Kamurai. You can go watch my movie review stuff over on Jam on Toast 528. You can yell at me on the Twitters over at Kamurai25, or you can yell at all of us over on We Are Movie Club or at We Are Movie Club on the Twitter. Go watch some of the other content that's coming out. We're working on stuff, and we have great people like these fine folks here on the Hangouts. Thanks for sticking out and being on with me.
Thanks, man.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.